This track is called Sun Come Up. And if you've got a special person in your life who's helped you through a really rough time, this is for you and it's for them. Last precious seconds rush away from us. I wake up singing sunshine of your love. You don't do cream before coffee in the morning, but you make the exception just to see me embracing this day. On that long, cold watercolor road, you warned you could never be my warmth, but you swore you would hold me. You'd be the pilot light that never goes out, that never doubts the dog pulse, till I could glow enough to generate my own heat. And like the sun coming up in the morning, I didn't even realize the temperature was dropping, everything was slowing down. Feeling no sorrow, feeling no glee, can you feel me? Like the sun, I couldn't see the dark till you shone for me. Sun coming up in the morning, color returns to my skin, to my pilgrimage. See me crawling, see me waltz out of the whitewash. Showed me I'm a prism, not a prison, I can't thank you enough. No, I can never thank you enough. The road is long and rough, and you lit it up with love. And I can never thank you enough. And like the sun coming up in the morning, I couldn't feel the breeze till you burned, till you melted before me set. Give me the shocks, give me the jump, shake my world up. Pain is a gift that no one wants, but I'll risk it for you, girl. This is an invitation. When are you gonna do something? Open the door and we'll live again. Learn to dance in the rain again. Pepper the pain in the play again. I don't wanna go down that way again. And like the sun coming up in the morning, I didn't even realize the temperature was dropping. Everything was slowing down. Feeling no sorrow, feeling no glee. Can you feel me? Like the sun, I couldn't see the dark till you shone for me. Sun coming up in the morning, color returns to my skin, to my pilgrimage. See me crawling, see me waltz out of the whitewash. Showed me I'm a prism, not a prison. And I can't thank you enough. No, I can't thank you enough. Take it to the rave.
I love the idea of kitchen table philosophy. The absolute wonder in women sharing their stories, breaking bread, creating magic, finding extraordinary in our seemingly mundane, claiming space to ensure our rich threads in this tapestry of life do not fade in colour, forgotten. I heard a friend say once, sometimes the story will find you. I wanted to learn the stories at the heart of Irish women. Some women I already knew and loved. Some I had yet to meet. And one woman that kept appearing relentlessly on rural roads, in odd little nooks, passing cemeteries, housing estates, at the bottom of strangers' gardens, on mountain roads, in people's houses. A ghostly figure in white and blue. I heard a friend say once, sometimes the story will find you. I wanted to know what she had to say. I wanted to know her through the stories of the women of this island. Their relationships appeared inextricably linked. I heard a friend say once, sometimes the story will find you. I thought my journey began by Muckish Mountain, in that little inlay on the road where we stopped in darkness, seatbelt off, and offered a little kiss to that lady in grey. The bridge of tears not far behind us. I didn't know then about those who had to say goodbye to loved ones for the chance at a better life. Here, in the gap, a place to stop, reflect, catch breath, and pray. I heard a friend say once, sometimes the story will find you. We spent a few weeks one summer driving through Ireland, exploring places I'd never seen, alone on a bus. Over and over again, there she was, in random places, hidden shrines on dangerous road bends. Curiosity sparkled in my brain. We ventured to Galway on that mystery tour, stayed in a small cottage just outside a town, still reeling from countless violations perpetrated against innumerable young mothers, babies buried, lost in time. We sat in the car, eating breakfast, beside a rustic and ramshackle shrine, paint chipping, plastic flowers faded, weathered. Conjuring ideas to investigate this phenomenon further. What began as joking irreverence turned to an idea that demanded more than my imagination could ever have conceived. I heard a friend say once, sometimes the story will find you. I petitioned eagerly women I knew, reached out through networks without expectation, and listened. We talked together, shared ideas and our lives, from each new concept that shaped the next. Like devotional petitions scribbled on scraps of paper, rolled up tight and tucked away in the gaps of rock, these stories of womanhood and Mary had become discreetly out of sight. I heard a friend say once, sometimes the story will find you. Childhood memories of confusion, not whistling lest Our Lady be offended, first communion dresses, and oh, the fuss, hoping to be picked for special processions to wear it one more time, wanting somehow to be thought good enough, lofty the heights of a virgin unattainable. Then motherhood, dehumanized in submission, or carrying the eternal shame of not wanting it to be the only choice, inability to reconcile perfection, immaculate, the horrors of the women who walked these paths before us, are around us, those who have yet to come. I heard a friend say once, sometimes the story will find you. Devotional stories of finding strength, comfort and loving faith, adoration for this sacred feminine, affinity found in a relatable deity to petition in anguish and despair, a softer side to this male-driven religion. These stories were gathered, shared through laughter, tears and anger, empathetic sorority-connected histories, redress, sought in love. I heard a friend say once, "Sometimes the story will find you." We talked of institutions and hushed practices silenced no more. We talked of her womanhood, how we identified with her lack of agency, the suffering she had no choice to accept. And how must that have felt? My journey to finding this woman showed me much of my own self. As mother, I wanted to hold her, tell her there's no shame in tears, understanding in the anguish felt to be there for your child, from first to last breath. I wanted to let her know I see that humanity, despite being clothed in heavy white and blue robes. I heard a friend say once, "Sometimes the story will find you."
The stars come out in the night, I wanna know how they feel. Some shine particularly bright, still wanna know if they're real. When talking to the elite, I wanna know what they mean. You're taking up all the room, you were discovered in June. We turn our backs on those fucked up animals. We recognize their hearts beat so out of time. We turn our backs on those fucked up animals. We recognize their hearts beat so out of time. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. We turn our backs on those fucked up animals. We recognize their hearts beat so out of time. We turn our backs on those fucked up animals. We recognize their hearts beat so out of time. Get in a fight, just wanna know we're alright. I wanna see how we are when you're gone. I hope you learn how to choke when we learn how to vote. I wanna see how we are when you're gone and we're strong. Learn how to love and we're strong. We turn our backs on those fucked up animals. We recognize their hearts beat so out of time. We turn our backs on those fucked up animals. We recognize their hearts beat so out of time. We turn our backs on those fucked up animals. We recognize their hearts beat so out of time. Time.
It was Christmas time in Derry. and all across the city. Girl, this COVID crack's left me feeling pretty fed up. The town's eerie quiet. I'm missing all me mates. I'd give anything for a plate of soggy sprouts round at me granny's. The city needed a cuddle, a rib-crushing Yuletide squeeze. I'd even come over all festive hippie-like and hug the Guildhall tree at this point. Meanwhile, in the bogside, 4 dancers from Flaunt Your Step were having a Baltic socially distanced, hands washed off the meeting to see how they could help. Said Kevy to Whitey and Doherty and Dort's hi. There's still loads to be grateful for. Let's lift the town's spirits. Fab idea. But how are we gonna do it? The girls sat up all night, frozen to the wishbones, wondering how they could safely bring the buzz back to this 2020 sugar show. By the light of early morn, they discussed everything they could think of. Secret Santa, sleigh and sleigh bell songs, Doherty's sausage roll baps in the snow. But lo, they weren't happy. Nothing quite seemed to satisfy. Those 4 dancers from Flaunt Your Step, they couldn't help but lose their minds. In a blind fit of desperation, they launched into singing of reindeer, of Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cupid, Donner and Blitzen and Dasher and Rudolph and... Dancer, said Dortz to the girls. This COVID crack truly has us cracked. Of course it was so obvious. The best thing they could do for this, the best tool to lift spirits, sure they knew it more than anything, was dance. And so they danced, and danced, and danced, and lifted hearts all across the twinkling city. Have a very Derry Christmas, one and all, and everybody.
Strange wee man, a curse was put on a strange wee woman. Highly reactive, I disagree. Lost and locked and bolted is he. Poems, parching, clouded and weak, dreaming up stories to escape his plea. A fine pair of runners has he, running from anything remotely real. A pox on you. Beware the curse of the witch, says he. Beware the curse of the witch, says he. He lay down with me. In a blacked-out room where no one could see, he lay down with me. He sentenced me to emotional purgatory. A pox on you.
the hearts sang. Sing, then unlock my heart's kist, it is full wi' skinkling treasure. Birl wi' me in the skirling rainbows where we let the licht shine in. Watch as my love wanders back to me, where I gather her into my arms. In the mists of these memories, your sang is the brig, your heart's love is eternal.
I walked through the old tub, an old soul fit for rambling up. I met my old love down at the old town square. I have been such a poor wife, a poor sight, fit for a poor wife. But I will find me a new life, far from that old town square. Such plain truths are hard to hide. Lose your body out of sight, out of mind. Soon bewitched by the moon's eyes, then drawn to sea by the tide. Drawn to sea by the tide. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I see you now, like the northern night, up that old church lane, neath the pale moonlight. Strangers now, since we took to our flight, away from that old town square. Such plain truths are hard to hide. Lose your body out of sight, out of mind. Soon bewitched by the moon's eyes, then drawn to sea by the tide. Drawn to sea by the tide. I cannot return home, for what was once is now dead and gone. But I did not think I'd see you here, so far from that old town square. No, I did not think I'd see you there, so far from that old town square.
Diva. She screamed at me, "It's done," then dragged my heaving heart awa for the wreckage. Her gentle thoughts on every chain, every bruise. She gifted me an axe. She showed me where the curves were. She showed me how to tenderly pluck out the broken sherds in my identity. with her hand at my back. She whispers, keep walking. And we walk away fae storms that other folk summon. And if I fail to listen and get drawn into the black waters, she yells and she points to where the safe harbours are. On dry land, her wit tickles me, and I laugh out loud. And often know at the rick times is deemed by the gurning faces of folk with notions that women should ken by noo where the lines are drawn. Together, we stamp out the lines, and still laughing, we smash the patriarchy yin wee bit at a time. She sprinkles glitter trails ahin me as I dance for it into the bricked adventure that is now my life. Moulded into form, she gathers in all the love offered and wraps it in her licht. In creating a magnificent crown, she places it on my head, and looking richt into my een smiling, she calls me Diva.
They're up the creek in Hammersmith, Shoreditch is in the drain. In Soho they're full of woe, New Cross is cross again. In Tottenham they're tottering, Camden was rather blue. In Peckham Rye there's a mournful cry, what are poor folks to do? In Elephant and Castle they want to storm the tower. The gentry is a hassle, invading by the hour. Hooray, 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 we've got nowhere to stay. The developers are just around the corner, the bulldozers barging into range. There's no use getting misty about your family history, cause you know that society needs change, change, change. With their eye on the prize, they'll cut you down to size and gobble up the neighbourhood, you know. We're going to all drown our sorrows at the gastro pub and look for somewhere else to go. Say bye-bye to the high street, the library's feeling ill. The corner shop is about to drop from Barnet to Forest Hill. They're washing the walls in Williston and Finchley is feeling fraught. In Hoxton too, it's sad but true, the graffiti you see is bought. The price of a cappuccino is causing an awful stir. You can no longer park your car here, you'll just have to get a chauffeur. Hooray, 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 it's gentrification day. The developers are just around the corner, the bulldozers barging into range. There's no use getting misty about your family history, cause you know that society needs change, change, change. With their eye on the prize, they'll cut you down to size and gobble up the neighbourhood, you know. We're going to all drown our sorrows at the gastro pub and look for somewhere else to go. There are bad times just around the corner, and Londoners will have to splash the cash. There's no point squawking that Lambeth is walking, even the werewolves of London need a place to crash. The whole world is turning and London is burning, a brand new city is rising forth. I do hope the millionaires like London town, cause we'll all have to move up north. We'll all have to move up north.
No, I'm not doing it. What is it with you phones nowadays? And you need to have people stand in front of screens and perform monologues for you. Well, I'm not doing it. Not after the last time. That was a whole disaster. I lost my family, my home, Not to mention what happened to poor Stephen Ray. I invited Stephen to Derry to perform a monologue, and he ended up getting shot in the legs. Right down that alley there, they held him down and shot him, while Fenton O'Toole sat in his chest and wrote a scathing review of his performance for the Irish Times. Poor Stephen. He always assured me I wasn't to blame. And he was right. I wasn't. But I'll tell you who was, though. Brian Fegan Friel. He's to blame for this whole monologue craze. For it was he who shot the first arrow. It was right there that he drew his bow. The Playhouse. The date, January 2013. An amateur production. The play, The Faith Healer. My sister bought the tickets, so I'd no idea what to expect. And then the lights dimmed, and an actor came on stage alone and started to speak without interruption. Well, I was confused. Where were the other characters? Where was the feisty matriarch, the grandfather asleep in his chair, the flaming gay son? I should point out that up to this point, the only play I'd seen was Mrs. Brown's Boys. But this night, this was something different. This was just one actor talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. It was wonderful. That night, Brian Friel strung my pain with his language, sung my life with his words. I was hooked. 2013, UK City of Culture came to Derry. All over the city, there were singular men and women, on the walls, on stages, in tents and on film, unspooling, reminiscing, confessing, projecting, asserting and affirming what it means to be alive in a series of wonderful monologues. And then, just like a dream, it all came to an end. On the last day of December 2013, the sun went down, the City of Culture packed its tent and went off somewhere else. The town was dry. And I was hurting like Gene Hackman in The French Connection too. My junkie logic told me if Derry couldn't supply the monologues, I'd have to do it myself. I sold my house, I sold my kids, and I invested in this place. My own drama lab. And I came up with the winning formula for the monologue. I took 20 cc's of Victoria Woods, a dollop of Spalding Grey, mixed it with the essence of Dylan Moran, and then let it congeal under the cold observations of Conor McPherson. Perfect. I called my product Crystal Moth, or, as it was known on the street, Mono. Mono's for sale. Mono. Get your monos here. Cut price mono. Mono for sale. Mono. Get your mono here. Mono. Not a sausage. Nobody was buying. I had what Arthur Miller would call the death of a salesman. Mono, get your mono here. Quality mono. Mono. Time to call in an expert. Ah, Stephen. Where have you gone? A city turns its lonely eyes to you. You gotta admit, he started well. Right here. He stood and he sold. To be or not to be? That is the question. The purest, the finest monologue there is. They flock to him from miles and miles, from every street, from every house, from every nook and nile cranny. But you got greedy. Word hit the street that Stephen recited a passage from Seamus Heaney's Siege of Troy to a group of school kids in P7. Let me show you something, Stephen. This is a child's brain, perfectly formed. And this is what happens a child's brain on Seamus Heaney. They're just not ready for those farmyard mutterings. And so we paid the price. I brought you here to be punished. You said the bullets didn't hurt as much as O'Toole's stinging criticism. And as for me, exiled. They sent me here. A run-down rehab centre with sheltered housing. Or as the locals call it, Buncrana. So no more monologues from me, Mr. Phone. It's dangerous. As Stephen Berkoff once said, monologues don't hurt people. Stephen Berkoff hurts people. Goodbye.
To play. And she said, Mama, got a note here from the Harper Valley PTA. Well, the note said, Mrs. Johnson, you're wearing your dress is way too high. It's reported you've been drinking and running round with men and going wild. And we don't believe you ought to be bringing up your little girl this way. And it was signed by the Secretary, Harper Valley PTA. Well, it happened that the PTA was gonna meet that very afternoon. And they were sure surprised when Mrs. Johnson wore her miniskirt into the room. And as she walked up to the blackboard, I can still recall the words she had to say. She said, I'd like to address this meeting of the Harper Valley PTA. Well, there's Bobby Taylor sitting there, and 7 times he's asked me for a date. And Mrs. Taylor sure seems to use a lot of ice whenever he's away. Mr. Baker, can you tell us why your secretary had to leave this town? And shouldn't Widow Jones be told to keep her window shades off wool completely down? Well, Mr. Harper couldn't be here 'cause he stayed too long at Kelly's bar again. And if you'll smell Shirley Thompson's breath, you'll find she's had a little nip of gin. You have the nerve to tell me you think that as a mother I'm not fit. Well, this is just a little Peyton place, and you're all Harper Valley hypocrites. No, I wouldn't put you on because it really did. It happened just this way. The day my mama socked it to the Harper Valley PTA. The day my mama socked it to the Harper Valley PTA.
Matt, a confident poet. The other night, all choreography and slick movement, snapping to attention the way we all did. Of course. Poem seemed to be about some Sebastian, yuppies living in the city, arguing about the limited efficacy of his SSR eyes, and in a clever swerve of their privileged outlook, the poet points out to us the enlightened, the scarred, the lying beyond the theatrical third wall by breaking the fourth, that these people aren't real and this is not about them because they're complaining for nothing. Yeah, they're doing it toughing, but nothing compared to us real folk. And if you want to see real hurt, real street smart street hurt, real ground down in the dirt, you need to look at the evidence, look at what they missed, look for scarred proof everlasting, look at the goddamned wrists. Is that right, Mia? Are we in an elitist competition now, a meritocracy based on the lines being where they ought to be? We're in the craft. Early 90s vehicle for Neve Campbell, desperately trying to escape the cloying sweetness of Party of Five by flashing her tits at Kevin Bacon in Wild Things, and Firuza Balk, who disappeared for 10 years after proving she was no Judy Garland in Return to Oz. We're comparing arm wounds and oohing and eyeing at the vain vertical match, exclaiming in awe that she even did it the right way. Because nothing less than a 2-inch line oozing bone deep to finish the job will do. Maybe you're confused and kinda like your life. Maybe you have a shitty blunt knife. Maybe you're squeamish. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you close your eyes and poke half-heartedly with scissors, which isn't a lack of dedication to the task at hand. Wrist, hand, get it? Anyway, not wanting to see is not less evidence of not wanting to be, and poking half-heartedly is a symptom of depression anyway. Everything is blunt. Everything is dull. Everything is slapped at. Lack of effort. Let's sleep instead. Let's hide. In bed, everything is tomorrow. Tomorrow. And tomorrow. So sauce for my lack of surgical skill, it doesn't make me any less ill. So hold on, Sonny Jim, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Tap that, hit that, opt out of the rat race. I met my first semicolon 6 months ago. Didn't look at their wrists, had no reason to doubt that for a time they wanted out, wanted it with all of their blunt, dull heart. And I know what he meant really. Is any attempt ever visible or not? The evidence is the attempt, not the remaining marks you got, but we literally have no idea about someone else's clock. The timelines run forwards and backwards, and you can find yourself in the quantum leap accelerator at any point in a life. Before the disaster or after the plaster and dust have settled. Just looking at the dead can keep us on track, but it's a distraction. The ghosts of West Belfast shrug and can't help us now. And while we stand eyeball to eyeball with the deceased, remembering their beauty, lost in the mirror of the soul-to-soul confrontation, there's a timeline somewhere needs a sound Beckett intervention before the disaster, before plaster, before bridge or noose or inciting incident. Just watch for changes. Your friend's a bit sad sometimes, but you go for dinner all the time, and you had a steak and talked about boys and they were quiet, but you talked about boys. And what did they eat? You're not the boss of them. You're not there to keep track of whether they're hungry or not. And they said they weren't hungry, and they said they weren't hungry. And they said they weren't hungry, and they're not online anymore. So how are you meant to get in touch with them? Really, they don't like phone calls. They're making it very difficult for you. And they said they were tired.
Years and my life is still trying to get up that great big hill of hope for a destination. I realized quickly when I knew I should that the world was made up of this brotherhood of man, for whatever that means. And so I cry sometimes when I'm lying in bed, just to get it all out what's in my head. And I'm feeling a little peculiar. And so I wake in the morning and I step outside, and I take a deep breath and I get real high, and I scream from the top of my lungs, what's going on? And I say, outside, and I take a deep breath, and I get real high, and I scream from the top of my lungs, what's going on? And I say, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I say, hey, what's going on? And I say, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I say, hey, what's going on? Then I say, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I say, hey, what's going on? Then I say, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, yeah, yeah. I say, hey, what's going on? 25 years and my life is still trying to get up that great big hill of hope for a destination.